Good night, everyone. Good night, and welcome to another episode of the Healthy Reset. I am Nurse Maria, Nurse Joseph, and I want to thank you all for joining us tonight in the topic that I, well, I wouldn't say that I chose, but it chose me, and it is a topic that I think is timely because of what menopause in itself is. For many of us, it is a time of loss of what we once had. Like, it could be whether it is, this time where we know we cannot, at this point in time, when you go through the menopausal phase, you're at a point where you cannot physically have a baby or conceive, let me put it that way. It's a time when, we have loss in the sense of, some of us, our children are big and become empty nesters. It's a time when we lost probably a relative, some of us lost their parents, and many of us are retired, and we feel that sense of loneliness and that self um loss, that what am I here? What's the purpose? And then loneliness steps in, and which can lead to a host of other issues, which could be health and mental decline and things like that. So after speaking to a lot of women in my practice, nursing practice, in my sexual health practice, I realized that it is a topic that needs to be discussed because we know we are not one-dimensional being, and what goes on physically affects us mentally, what goes on mentally affects us physically. And it can convert in other ways affect our health many times in a negative way. Could cause us to have a decline in health mentally and physically. So on that point, I decided, after hearing a lot of us women talk about what we are going through, and I myself am going through this transition called menopause. Needed to say, some of us have a very easy time, or I would say a simpler time with less symptoms and things like that. And many of us have that storm that is going through, like it's like you're going through one storm after the other, and it doesn't seem like it wants to give us a break. So loneliness is one of these areas in which I wanted to touch on this evening. And I just wrote down some little I would say quotes, or some words of points of positivity. I sat down and I wrote and I saw that some of these online and heard some of them being said. Turning your pain into purpose. I also wrote, that is something I personally use for myself: know your value and your worth. And points like these to help boost us as women, our self-esteem. And I look up one or two definitions of what different definitions of loneliness is defined as. One has it as loneliness can be defined, a very short definition, as the state of being alone and feeling sad about it. That is one term. And another definition that I found as well is loneliness is an emotional state that arises from not having the desired, sufficient, meaningful connections with others. So that was two of the ones that I saw online, that I said I would share it with you all. And what are some of the causes of loneliness? Loneliness can be sometimes or can be attributed to what we call internal factors, such as low self-esteem, people who lack self-confidence and often believe that they are unworthy. So loneliness can stem from these concepts, which can lead to isolation and what they term as chronic loneliness. So what are some of the, what can loneliness, or what are some of the things that loneliness could do for us in a negatively? Because I mean, there's nothing to me positive about being alone and feeling sorry for yourself. So what does loneliness, what can it do to a person? Well, it can lead to a higher risk of high blood pressure, which can lead in turn can lead to heart disease, which in turn can lead to obesity, anxiety, depression, memory loss issues, and even if not dealt with, lead to premature death. Yes, it is something that can have have that kind of effect one stage to the next, and then eventually you just lose interest with everything and you just shut down, So it is something that we all at one point in time have to deal with. Loss is something we have to deal with, and turning that pain into purpose could make a whole lot of difference in the way we navigate through the many challenges in our personal life. So, so I found different, I went on and I found different studies showing different things about loneliness and how combating menopause, loneliness. There's hi, good night. Okay, somebody, I'm hearing somebody, Miss Theodore. I'm hearing some talking. All right, okay. I thought somebody wanted to interject a point. Okay. Okay then. So I wanted to talk about how menopause can, as women, can sometimes make us feel alone because of one study that I saw online, which is menopausology .com. It spoke about the absence of meaningful connections during this time, and this meaningful connection can cause us, because of the symptoms that we are having in the menopausal journey, that we feel disconnected with other people because we feel ashamed to share what we are going through. Probably too, because when you think you can, who you could talk to, who can I talk to without being judged? And many times too, we feel embarrassed because a lot of the things that we never had before, issues that we never had. For example, myself, I can use basically myself as I'm going through this journey. I've never had joint problems. I was always, I could go, exercising, lift weights, um, hiking, do a lot of active stuff. And a few months ago, I got the flu and I had to do a number of checks. And, I recently found out that it could be, from how it's looking, it could be developing rheumatoid arthritis, right? And I want to, as a health professional, to let you all know that we too go through issues. We may not all talk about it, or some of us, just put it on the back burner. But it is something I want to meet head on and to deal with in this journey that I'm going through. It is in my genetics. My grandmother had it. And even though I do my best to eat right, I exercise, and I try all the necessary things to make me as healthy as possible. Here I was today, being in the early stages of being diagnosed with what everything seems to be pointing to rheumatoid arthritis, right? So that is something I'm coming to terms with, and I don't think I don't think hiding it would be the best thing to do. Any illness, as a matter of fact. So I realized my joints, my knees, I was getting problem going up and down stairs, which I never do. I run up and down stairs generally, and of the last few months I couldn't, especially coming down the stairs, and then I realized my wrists were hurting and my, fingers. So, I had to go get it checked out, and thanks to Dr. Khan, he directed me to a place he works, and they started to diagnose me with that issue. So that is one of the things. And some of us, we feel ashamed to let people know, this is what I'm going through, and that is what I'm going through. And you wouldn't, if I had hidden that from him, I would not have been directed to somewhere that could give me the help I need. So that is the reason why I decided, look, the loneliness affects us mentally, and it puts us down a road to demise. And so I decided, look, let's talk about it, because there are many things we can't get help with, but if we don't say anything and we keep things inside and we break connections, we may not get, in many cases, we may not get the help we need, and we just wither away. So most of us learn, from what I've learned and what I've been reading online, most of us have learned to distract ourselves the very moment we feel uncomfortable. Whether there's an uncomfortable emotion, such as loneliness, that is surfacing, we may engage in healthy forms of distraction, such as reading, exercising, working out, and there are some unhealthy forms of distraction, such as overeating, drinking, watching TV for hours upon hours. Now, while these distractions may provide temporary relief, they often lead to other problems, such as weight gain in the case of overeating and drinking, exhaustion and burnout in the case of over-exercising or overworking. Now, children, on the other hand, and you would say, why I chose to put children in this mix, but I decided it's a study that they did, and children, on the other hand, often give free rein to their emotions. Children are honest. Um, if something is smelling bad, they would tell you it's smelling bad. If something is tasting awful, they tell you it is tasting awful. If you are dressed in something and you think you're looking good and you see that, oh boy, they would really tell you, you're looking off, right? So this study talked about children giving free rein to their emotions. Now, though this may seem immature to adults, children also get negative emotions extremely quickly and are able to move on to the next thing as if nothing happened. Adults, in an attempt to bury and control their emotion, often carry them for years, allowing the emotion to arise and giving it our full attention may be the key to letting go of that negative feeling. So here are some exercises that could give full embracing to the loneliness that we feel at times. So there's one that says give the emotion you feel full expression. Stop hiding what you feel. Sometimes somebody tells us something that that we don't like, and you just say, okay, I wonder where that came from. And you just not you didn't say anything, you just hold it in, and then they come back and they say something again that you didn't like. And you just keep holding it, and then after a while, you realize that you start to build up resentment to that person because you never said anything, and they probably think, well, okay, she probably, she's just somebody who, you could tell anything and they, embarrass them and they really don't say anything much. And you just keep holding that thing, and then one day you might just explode. When from the first time they started to tell you something to make you feel less than, me tell them you don't like it. Don't do it. I don't appreciate it. Get it out of your system instead of holding it in. And that is what we when we practice these things, and like children, it builds up, and eventually it gets us very ill. So one of the things we can do is to give free expressions of our feeling. I'm not telling you to go over there and curse somebody who may tell you something negative, but it is important that you give rein to what you feel. If you don't like something, say you don't like it. If something is not tasting good, you try to say it. I know we try to say it in the best way we can, but say, you could make improvements in this and that instead of just keeping things in, because these things eventually add up. Another point was said in this study too. It said, talk about going into silence. Silence can be difficult and even scary for some people. We are all used to loud noises, social media, plenty people around us, but going into ourselves and trying to find out what it is that it is really bothering us and about whatever situation we are going through is important. Sometimes it is good to go by yourself in a quiet place. It doesn't mean it's something you do all the time, but to get in touch with what it is that is really bothering you. You could probably start very small doses. All right, give yourself at least 2 minutes. They will say 2 to 5 minutes for that day by yourself in a quiet time to recap the day and see what you could do to bring these emotions to surface. And then you could increase it to like 10 minutes and then a half an hour with you and yourself and your thoughts to realize, what it is really having me in this state of loneliness. So coming to terms with whatever may be bothering you is very important. Another thing they used in the study was engaging in something called mindful meditation. Now, this is no longer seen as an exotic thing. Some of us who read the Bible, the Bible speaks about meditating on the Word of God and meditating on, you know, on different things to bring a positive outcomes. Now, this meditation is very simple. It also can require great courage, simply with the sensations and thoughts and emotions that may arise without trying to control or change what you feel. So it is a time you observe and to get in tune with whatever you are going through meditation. Be patient. If emotions get uncomfortable, muster up your valor, your strength, your tenacity, and set yourself a limit time to start doing something like this. As I said, you start in very small doses, and then you could probably go up to 30 minutes at a time per day or every other day and get in touch with that mindfulness and to help bring these things to the surface. Cultivate what another thing they spoke about was cultivating inner and outer connection. Research shows that we reap the psychological well-being and physical benefits of social connection, not from the number of friends we have, but from our own internal subjective sense of connection towards others. In other words, we could have only one friend or no friends at all, but if we feel connected from the inside, then we reap all the benefits thereof. This research finding is empowering because whatever starts from within is within our reach, is within our hands. So take example, you haven't seen a friend or somebody you have been close to for such a long time, but when you meet them, it's like the years just melt away. It's like you were always talking all the time. And because you always feel that connection, even though they were not around. So that connection is important. Cultivate an inner connection to an inner and outer connection. So even though that person may not be close by and you may not speak to them sometime months, some people months at a time. But when they meet, oh boy, it's like they never left your presence. They were always there. So that connection is really an internal connection that you have with somebody, even though they may not be close to you as before physically, but you always have this bond. It also talk about taking care of your body, and we always want to elaborate the importance of taking care of ourselves, because if we are not healthy physically, it affects everything, as we know. So taking care of our body as part of our distracted lifestyle, we often don't listen to what our body says. We eat the wrong foods, we drink, we stay up too late and forget to exercise, or if we sometimes we over exercise. We also carry a wrong false notion that our body's well-being is independent from that of our mind. This is not the case, as anyone who has started a healthy diet or exercise regime knows when we start to take care of our body, we naturally feel better, and with a positive state of mind, our whole outlook on life changes. As a friend of mine who was going through a divorce, as it says, if my mind is okay, then everything is okay. One of the best ways to take care of our mind is to take good care of our bodies. So we know that if as there's a saying that they say, if the head is sick, the whole body wants to lie down. If you have a headache, you feel like you just want to lie down and rest. So the mind and the body are connected. So it is important that we see about this this mind of ours, keeping it positive, having positive individuals around us. If you find that, there are people around you, sometimes your own relative just seem to not um connect with you. Let me just put it that way. And, sometimes being around them may not always be the best thing for you, especially if you are going through your own storm. So sometimes, you just give them a little rest and you get yourself together, or you just hang out around people. That is what I do. I just, that part is just me. What I do, I just try to hang out with people with who have a purpose, who have this sense of positivity, and it rubs off, actually. The positiveness of it rubs off, and it helps as well me to become more positive in what I am going through. Another point I want to raise is serve. Why serve? Why is it good to serve others? Be kind, it says, to everyone you meet, because everyone is fighting a hard battle. That is so true. We all have our battles that we fight and we face. And some of these battles you do not want to share with anyone. Some of them might be embarrassing. Some of them you don't think that is anybody's business. And some of them, the battles, they come from deep-seated, rooted experiences that you just want to see if you could overcome them without sharing it. Some of us do that, but why is it? And so that is where kindness comes in my line of work. I totally believe in this concept, service and kindness, because you and I don't know that one positive word can make somebody have a 360-degree turnaround in a positive direction. A kind word, good advice, showing that you care, I mean genuinely care, and that could make the difference, for a big difference for somebody who may be going through a real storm in their life. So being kind does not take anything from you. It doesn't, it doesn't make you less than a human. A matter of fact, it makes you strong, right? So being kind to someone, even though they in their mind and their outset may not be the friendliest, but you being a kind person, not trying to pry, but you're being kind and caring and empathetic. These things are important. So serving is important. And I do that a lot in my line of work, and Dr. Khan does that in his line of work as well. And I personally find serving others helps you to realize that you are not in the boat alone. There are people, sometimes they say, I thought things was bad until, you hear other stories and you realize, you know, be thankful, be thankful because things not as bad as you think it was, you start to make you think that, I should be more grateful because of the things that I have. It's not about me alone, so being kind, serving others, and caring is a big, big, big factor here in fighting loneliness, right? This gives us the opportunity to approach others with kindness and a sense of service, no matter what our capabilities are, we can always contribute to others with, with as little as a smile, a kind word, or more. Service is simply help one person at a time and always start with the person nearest to you. And that was said by Mother Teresa. Whether it is the person working the cash register, the grocery store, one small act of kindness can brighten someone's day. We can be of service to people, animals, or even nature. My service generally, I love to help people. I love animals, but I am really attracted to nature. I love plants. I love to see things grow, and it gives me a sense of achievement and seeing how, there's these seeds that you cultivate them and they grow into these plants and these fruit bearing trees. Was I responsible in cultivating a seed into this powerful tree? So it gives you a sense of purpose. So my service, I love plants. Really, really love plants, and I love to be around nature. So whatever you are drawn to, your act of service is an act of connection that will help lift the loneliness that you feel. Now, research shows that compassion and service can be of tremendous benefit. Often, when we feel down or alone, our vision and our universe becomes so very narrow. Helping others can immediately change our perspective and re-energize us, which is why compassion has been linked to well-being. As Mahatma Gandhi wrote, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Another way we can connect is to connect with nature. If connecting with people is a challenge, connect with nature. A recent study shows that taking walks in nature can increase our well-being, even in the case of if you are having depression. Another study showed that exposure to nature increases our sense of connectedness and closeness and even makes us more caring and ready to share with others. Connecting with nature can help broaden our vision and inspire an experience of awe and the view of landscape as well. Cultivating awe through nature can also help broaden our perspective. Research on awe, which is often inspired by beautiful nature sceneries, such as a starlit night or a vast horizon, suggests that it slows our perception of time by bringing us into our present moment and enhances our well-being. I know for sure I love being around nature. I don't know if any of you could put by a show of hand if you love to be around nature. If you don't find when you get up in the morning and you hear the birds singing outside or you go out and you take a walk, or some people love to go by the sea or go by, go surfing, interact with nature. And they find when they do that, they feel fulfilled, they feel less burdened when they do practice these strategies. What about falling in love with yourself again? Or just falling in love with yourself? If you make friends with yourself, you will never be alone, wrote Mr. Maxwell Maltz. We often run from solitude for the same reasons we run from loneliness. We feel the fear of being alone. But being alone also means doing what you please. You can dance at your own rhythm. You can eat whatever you wish to eat, watch the movies you wish to watch, and make choices that are entirely of your own without somebody saying that they don't like this or they don't like that what you're doing or what you're eating, why you're eating that. And you're doing something for you. Being alone is often the only time we can truly rest undistracted, unstimulated by the environment and what other people's expectations are of us. Miss Audrey Hepburn once said, I have to be alone very often. I'd be quite happy if I spent from Saturday night until Monday morning alone in my apartment. That's how I refuel. Being alone can be a great source of replenishment and even bliss. Being beneath the thoughts of and emotions is a vast ocean of silence, peace, and well-being. We all access it at times. Sometimes it can be experienced when you lose yourself in a sunset or just as you wake up before the thoughts of the mind flood your brain, or in the act of service or love. In meditation or prayer, the more we can access that space, the more our well-being permits us to rest during our day. Finally, I know that you finally at that point in time you know that you are not alone. So even though we may be going through the changes of menopause, these pointers that I give are really helpful to connecting with that part of loneliness that we feel at this point in time due to our outer circumstances. So what can we do for mood swings? Mood swings, these can make us, many of us, more irritable, and we find even the worst or minor things annoying because this is one of the things that happen that causes us to get, anxiety and depression. Having low mood and depression, research has shown right. Um, Women highlight that many women feel low mood and depressed once they hit perimenopause. This can prevent you from reaching out when you need it. And that feeling of fatigue also, that makes you want to stay at home. And what about being stigmatized because you are going through menopause? All of that can have us in this state. But as I said before, the loneliness we feel is can be remedied with what I just shared with you, and it is something that we can do on a daily basis to help us to be more connected to feel more connected with ourselves. So I don't know if there's anyone who would like to put in their 2 cents, as we say, on this point of the point that I raised with you all in terms of what we can do in terms of feeling better and your own personal experience that you've been having or you had with loneliness during menopause. Now is the time. I have things open for us to you all can unmute and give an experience that experience may be able to help someone or give us your experience and what you did to overcome a lonely chapter or that feeling of depression during
Hello, good night.
menopause. Good night. Good night,
How are
my dear.
you?
I'm quite fine. Nice hearing your voice. Miss
Yes,
Eli.
lovely to see you.
Thank
Looking
you.
well.
Thank you.
Loneliness and alone is two different things, right?
Yes.
Because loneliness is a state of being alone and is being sad about it.
Yes.
But being alone have its upside to it, in the sense that, for me, being alone here is I learned to find myself. I understand myself more. There are things that I didn't know about myself, but being alone, I found myself. I don't know if you understand that.
You hug yourself.
Yes,
All right.
I find things in myself that I didn't know before and
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Right? And
Okay.
also being alone, you find time to meditate, to be closer to God, to pray.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk according to you, you could sing with the birds and all these things. So I see a positive thing because where I'm living is in nature. So I'm
Yes.
hearing the cockatoos and the all different birds and everything around me. And I also like the idea of serving.
Yes.
To serve someone and care for them is
Mm-hmm.
to have a purpose in life, because we all should have a purpose in life. And when we have
I
a
agree.
purpose in life, you find that we find balance in our lives,
Yes.
in the things we do, and all of that.
So
It
when
makes
you
us
feel,
happier.
so I don't mean to cut you there just now, but I just say that I just this question came to mind. So when that overwhelming feeling comes to you, what at that point in time, what is the main thing that you do to get rid of that feeling?
Okay, so I join certain groups.
Okay.
All right. So the loneliness is impacting less on me now, because like three times to the week I have different classes. I'm playing the national instrument, the pan, and it is
Mm-hmm.
more than once a week. So I channel my energy in that area, so I don't find time to be lonely. All
Right.
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 And I started a new art about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Glass enhancement. So there are certain things that I channel myself, so I don't have enough time to think about loneliness as before,
Okay. Okay.
you know.
Okay.
And you can read, and there are so many multiplicity of things you can do to get out of that, And in joining the classes, I'm meeting more people, so you can
Very good.
associate with, and you can share your knowledge, and that kind of thing.
Thank you very much for sharing because um so in your case as well, you find serving works for you, which is good, which is
Yes.
great, and socializing,
Socializing, yeah.
right? It helps you to not focus on always on you and realize too that as I spoke about in the reading that there are people too who have needs much greater than yours, and
Definitely.
that can put you in the spirit to serve. There are so much people in need and so much people you can be service to. You have value and you have a worth and you have a reason, and it gives you a perspective
Yes.
in everything that you do.
Yes.
That is very, 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 very helpful. Very good. Very good. I'm glad to hear you're so active.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anybody else wants to interject anything here at this point in time? What strategies you all use to help with loneliness at this point in your life? Okay. Well, just as I said, I've learned to come. As for me, I've learned to, as I said earlier on, I've learned to come to terms with the aging process and what my body is can do and what it is changing um to during this process. And I believe I'm coming into a more positive, rounded person, self-reliant, knowing my value, knowing my work. And as I stated, when I started turning my pain into purpose. So in the practice that I have and, all the women that I have to deal with and realizing that so much of us I need, that is what stimulated me. That is what pushed me to help. Because if I, as a healthcare provider, I'm going through such changes and I was having such difficulty, what about people who are not informed about the changes that are taking place? And that is what spurred me, along with the patients that I had who were just consistently asking me, "So what are you doing? What could be done to help me?" And it spurred me to start this community. And Dr. Khan and I meet, and then the rest was history. So here we are now sharing our experiences, and I am interjecting knowledge into this community to help us serve others all over the world, not just in this part of the world, but for women everywhere who are going through this transition and who are on the verge of going through it. Some people, as I said, younger than some of us go through it younger due to genetics. They could be dealing with a health problem that um, causes you to go into menopause before a certain age group. And so we all want to know how to deal with these flood of emotions that we have to deal with, and changes that could be very overwhelming. So yes, so being able to deal with all the changes positively can have a very positive effect on us. So I want to take this opportunity again to thank everyone for being here. Thank you all for interjecting at this point in time. And I want to also say that we are starting our online weight loss class tomorrow with Dr. Khan. And we have the program is a package: breast exam, pap smear, as well as the weight loss um, program, 7-week weight loss program. That's the package we have to offer for anyone who has in need of it. It's $597, and you can also have that to go back into, to rotate again in the future, to go in to that program when you're finished, and also to, when we upgrade to another program, you have that along with the upgrade, because you want to continue to be healthy. So that is available. You can also contact myself and the White Rose community, and we would give you more information on that. So I want to thank you all, ladies, for coming and for being so supportive. And in this program, we want to have more stimulating topics that could make you all speak more, not be afraid of speaking and sharing, because I believe sharing is important to help every one of us who are going through this transition, or who would like to know more about it and would have to be more prepared when that time comes. So again, I want to say thank you, Dr. Khan. Want to be closing off now. I want to thank everyone for being here. And so I want to have a wonderful topic again next week. And those of you who are interested in the program, please, you can let us know. And so when we start the program tomorrow, you would be there at the beginning to get the full reap the benefits of everything. So thanks everybody again for coming. And
You're welcome.
we will meet again next week at the same time with another wonderful topic.
Okay, good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Good night.